Do you have to follow the meta to win? It turns out not always. In today's episode of In Too Deep, we have a special treat for you. A game that defies all the expectation and proves that sometimes the meta is not the only way to win. We cover a top level tournament game played by Spetham, who won the Mecha Cup in North America this past weekend. We will see how Spetham managed to pull off a stunning performance with a very off-meta line that no one else, in my opinion, would dare try from his spot. But as you will see, vision and a little creativity and proper execution in the approach will pay off huge dividends in the end. All right, let's get into it. This lobby is stacked. First things first, Kurimex, Precedent, Ramblin', DQA. These are the names you regularly see on top of ladder. They've made it to world championships or regionals. In fact, there's some underdogs like Sully and Daze who have also performed well. This is very difficult of a lobby. Immediately, you can see Spetham is starting Sword, and the other players are contesting Bow and Tier. This is already a hallmark of Spetham's play, is that he likes to be off meta. Starting Sword gives you options for a lot of support items. You're looking at things like Hextech Gunblade for Kaisa as a secondary item. Shojin can be a really good item for Misfortune or Aurelian Soul, or even those Nico Spellslinger builds. So Sword has a lot of options as a secondary item, but also can be a really powerful AD item if you get things like Deathblade and you're starting off that Sivir Infiniteam time and a half augment, where it scares off for amount of AD, you get gold. Oh my goodness, Kurimex already has 2 Kaisas. Oh man, that probably means that we're not going to be playing Kaisa, or at least we need a very good reason to play Kaisa if we're going to contest him. We already have Blitzcrank 2, and looks like we have Laser Core because we have the Ashe and the Renekton and the Yasuo, which is pretty nice. Laser Core is pretty strong opener if you're able to get 2-star units and have a lot of that tempo. He has the sword and the vest for Edge of Night. That's one of Warwick's best items. A lot of people really underestimate Warwick currently in Laser Core because it's just not as flashy as some of the other compositions. And you generally need a +1. Oh my gosh, but you have 5 item components. Okay, so there's a lot to unpack. This is a 1-1-1 hero augment, and we have 5 item components, meaning that we have a ton of different possibilities. You're looking at Last Whisper or like Rage Blade as some of his starting items. He can go for the Edge of Night Last Whisper and try to really lean into Laser Core. So maybe he's looking for a +1 laser. Does he want to just go for tempo, right? He has Gangplank. Does he want to go, maybe not Flaming Ricochet, but if there's like Get Paid or whatnot. Bigger, Better Buckler is another option for his augment, because a lot of people think that's really powerful for stage 2, but he doesn't really have a lot of gadgetines, doesn't have Poppy pair. So you'd be playing Poppy 1 with Wukong. That doesn't feel good. He does have Rocket Grab as an option with Blitzcrank 2. Could lean into that as his admins and brawlers. He rolls past it, though. We mentioned Enchanted Ammunition is more for like the Kaisa line. That's not that great of a reason to go into it, considering that he doesn't have the perfect items for it. It looks like his items are telling him to lean more AD. Cyclone and Kingslayer's not it. Righteous Range... Could you play Jax from there or Belveth? Not really. I mean, maybe. But you do have the Brawlers, something we're thinking about. I noticed he has Ashe pair. He could go for the Ashe 2 and play around Corpse Focus. This was a lot more popular with Recons and Set 8.0 Monsters Attack, but not really that popular here. He rolls past it anyways. Okay. And he's offered Reign of Anger, Get Paid, or Divine Ascent. The only augment that I think would be considered pickable would be the Renekton one, considering that he has the Laser Core, but I'm not a big fan of Reign of Anger currently. And this is a really interesting spot, and he sells to 10. Okay, so he picks Divine Ascent with 0 Kales. Makes Last Whisper because he knows that he needs that armor sundering. He makes Locket because it's really good for duelists, but he's not in position for it. This is a really awkward start for Spetham, to say the least. I think he didn't want to play this, but he rolled to his last option with 1-1-1, and he's got to. He looks like he's scouting around. He sees someone has a Blitzcrank hook, so we need to reposition. Also, the Lux. So there's like some support augments. So there's people who are going to be re-rolling the 1 cost. I think I saw a Nasus. Saw someone else take a Duelist Gangplank Get Paid, right? I thought Get Paid was an option. Chose not to go for it. So this is a swap in position to make sure that he's good against Rocket Grab from the Blitzcrank hook. That he's getting Locket value. So it looks like it's a pretty decent split. Some people are re-rolling, and a lot of people will be playing just a normal standard curve. Another re-roller going up against the best offense played by Sully. So it's going to be Hearts. The nice thing to know is that when you're playing a run cost reroll composition, you should really identify what are the important 3 stars to chase. So in this case, he's probably gonna go for a Kale 3, and then because he's going to be rolling at like level 4 and level 5 for the Kales, it's likely that he's going to be chasing things like the Fiora and maybe even the Yasuo 3, these low cost duelists. If you can get Gangplank 3, that's really nice. Not that big of a priority currently. Looks like he's on 2 loss. A couple of people look really weak. In general, he's trying to focus on how to preserve HP. The nice thing about positioning like this, by the way, this row that we just kind of highlighted, is that also his Ashe won't take first contact with ranged units. This KO should be attacking Yasuo, and that's exactly what happens. So it's just it's actually a nice double reason for him to position this way. 1, he gets to avoid the hook, and 2, he gets to not have aggro onto his Ashe. Although it looks like he gets the win here, a very convincing victory, which is not great. We were trying to lose streak to focus on economy, and we did make eco. We have 22 gold at 2-3, which is a lot, but not ideal. He wants Deathblade. Oh my god, he's getting griefed on his swords. Who's prioing sword? Jason Java, I believe, was playing the Nasus stacks on stacks, so of course he's going to go for things like the sword. Instead, he takes a bow because he wants to make sure that he has the items. I was thinking about the Kale on the carousel with the glove, because maybe you can go for Infinity Edge and Last Whisper. Now that I think about it, though, Duelist really needs a lot of stats, and Infinity Edge only works if you have a high base amount of attack damage. If you don't have a lot of base stats, remember that crit is just a multiplier. You need to have a high base number for that crit to even matter. Otherwise, you're just multiplying a small base number. That's a concept that you'll have to take with you from set to set, and that also applies to Jewel Gauntlet and AP. We hit 4 duelists, and look, if we didn't win the previous fight, we would have definitely won this fight. So our lose streak was going to get snapped either way. DQA has a very powerful underground start, and it looks like he's going to go into mech as well with that Wukong. So we have at least 4 players, it looks like, who's going to be playing a standard curve and not just re-rolling, which is slightly concerning. You want more people rolling the same tier cost you are. He was hoping to find more players willing to re-roll 1 costs and maybe some 2 costs alongside him, and it seems like there's only going to be a couple. Jason Java and right now Sully. I don't see anyone else. He's hoping that he can get this win, but 2 out of 3 players remaining are very strong. We have Dace. We know Kurum. We know Kurum has that Kaisa opening. And we're just hoping we can kill like 1 or 2 units here, which we might. Does have, you know, the 4 duelists and Vayne's pretty decent here. Another thing to be really scared about is the duplicators. The stats of duplicators is really powerful for all the people that want to hit 4 and 5 costs. If you got the blue, the lesser duplicators, the ones that are on the bench, then he would feel a lot more comfortable because you can only use that on 1 to 2 to 3 costs, which in some ways can be scarier if your opponent hits a very early 3 cost. But the power level of people hitting like their 2-star 4 cost, right? They get that guarantee really quickly. They get that, I don't know, they get that crazy, like, how did they get Fiddlesticks 2 or Urgot 2 in stage 4? It's through things like this duplicator. Thankfully, the hero augment has already been decided, so he doesn't have, so a lot of people that's looking for that 4 and 5 cost won't hit that and pair up immediately with the duplicator. You saw, by the way, that Spetham wasn't entirely sure if he would win this round, so he rolled 1 time, found that Kale. Finally, we got Kale, our first of the game that isn't the orb. Sells to 40, not going to over prioritize holding some of these other units that might be the next ones in. He ends up slamming Giant Slayer here, which I agree with because he already has another rod and he's not going to be able to make another sword item, and he can play off this rod to make a second locket. So yeah, he wanted Deathblade, but he's got to find tempo here. He can't just greed too many items, especially given how awkward his start has been. He did roll to, looks like 20 gold, which I think is about the halfway point. He's basically hedging. A lot of times people either roll down to 30, so because 30 can make to 40 and 50 within the next couple of rounds. After, you know, 3-2, you essentially will be getting back to slow rolling your gold above 50. And then the other option is to roll down to 10 or below because you're just all in and you want to hit that 3-star unit right now. He does have 2 duplicators in the Kale and the Orb, but with 20 gold remaining, he's not confident he can hit 3 more Kales. So he stops at 20 instead, which I think is entirely reasonable. Okay, so let's pause here. He has Exiles, First Aid Kit, and Second Wind. First Aid Kit. The only thing it really works on is shielding with Locket. That's not that powerful. If he goes for a second Locket, like maybe... Nah, it's still not even that good. I would stay away from it because he doesn't have any inherent healing in any part of his composition through his traits or his champion abilities, except for Neela. Exiles, I mean, we're playing Lockets. We can't really take Exiles. It's just we lose a lot of value, or we lose value on the Locket itself. And then Second Wind. Second Wind is not bad right now, and it's takeable. He does have the option of re-rolling for an augment and trying to go for like +1 duelist. That's his best case scenario because the silver duelist heart would allow him to get to 8 duelists on 7, but that's really far away. So I think Second Wind here makes a lot of sense. Looks like he agrees. And the nice thing about it is that, let's say even duelist heart was something that he was reasonably likely to hit. That's something that is better later on. Second Wind is better now. So if you're thinking about close decisions, think about what's good now and later, because Second Wind scales with the duelist damage reduction. The more HP that you get, the more effective damage reduction is. And so he's able to get 2 reasons, stacking those reasons in order to justify taking the Second Wind here. Going against Sully, he scouted someone, by the way, looks like they hit Nasus 3. That was Jason Java. That's a very difficult spot to be in because he knows the other reroll players are not going to be on equal footing to him. He does have, again, 6 KOs through the double duplicator and the KO on the orb. He is reasonably competitive. Does he win this fight? My goodness. Perfect loss. He does actually kind of want to lose. Oh my god. He has a twisted fate. He does kind of want to lose because he wants to recover his economy. And if he can lose by 1 unit every single time between now and even the end of stage 4, he would prefer to do that. But obviously that's not going to happen. Not every board is around that same power level. And the only reason why that happened is because Sully didn't also spike with a crazy 3-star or anything like that. Positioned around the hook, always trying to be vigilant about it. Even when you switch sides, he sacrifices his Yasuo because he knows he's going to get a cast off. Ends up trying to preserve as much HP. This fight ends up killing a couple more units. Not bad. Okay, these are pretty good losses. Somehow his opponent has a Samira on 3-3. Isn't this crazy, right? It looks like one of those lobbies where it feels like no one is low rolling except for maybe Spetham because he rolled all of his hero augments. Has like 1 KO at the end of stage 2 that he's a roll for. Looks like he's going for a second Locket. We kind of talked about how he's playing off of the components that are open to him. So he slammed Giant Slayer because he knew that he had a high chance of losing a lot on stage 3 and going for a second Locket so that he can solidify his front line once he's able to get those Neelas and that duelist front line. Okay, 4 KOs, 6 KOs. We technically have KO 3 right now, but he's gonna roll a little bit more because if he doesn't have to use this orange duplicator, he'd prefer not to. It looks like he rolled to 10, which is not particularly great because, again, his economy is in a rough spot. He did manage to 2-star his Vayne at least and get that 3-star KO. So we're online. And it's okay because we wanted to preserve that HP and he doesn't want to take too many losses. I think a lot of people would still like not roll in this spot. And I think this is really important because he recognizes he's behind the curve. Look at him. Other people have multiple 3-stars and he's still hit this KO 3 and lost. Imagine if he was still playing KO 2, he might not kill a single unit and would be lose the entirety of the rest of the game and maybe even just die. This is an important note to keep track of, which is try to maintain your tempo alongside everybody else in the lobby. If you notice that there is a lot more power than usual, and if you have a good chance to hit, then you should go for it. These DQAs cashing out of Underground, transitioning to Mech. That's another really difficult spot to be in because he hit his power spike, but so are a lot of the loose streakers. The Underground players coming for him. Goes up against Kurum, who has not that much. He's not that much stronger than since he last played. He hit a Kai'Sa 2 and has exchanged his Silas 2 for a Shen 2. So it looks like we end up potentially winning here. We actually kind of want to lose, but you know what? We've also lost a lot of HP. You have to start winning sometime. The ideal scenario would be to lose by 1 unit here so we can get that full loss streak gold for 3-6 and 3-7, but it is what it is. Another small thing to note is that he did end up putting his KO into the corner again because he recognized that by playing the rocket grab, he had that opportunity to put it in the corner again and make it the safest possible. He, by the way, was playing around position with like frontlining his duelist as well as backlining it. In the end, I think he wants to go for max value to preserve HP, to recognize that he was in an awkward spot. Like regardless of how he positioned, he would end up having a situation where he can't get max value off the Lockets, nor could he find a way to like protect his KO from that big AoE CC. The downside of positioning all like this in the back line is that all the big AoE like Garen and things that like will punish clumps will be hurt a lot. So it looks like he's playing around with different positioning ideas. Morale is pretty low. Look at him in the bottom right corner. His cam is, I mean, he's looking kind of deflated here because it feels like it's not a good spot. Precedent also playing Kai'Sa, has Kai'Sa too. But his Kayle is working onto the Kaisas, and it looks like this Kayle is stable for now. We've won 2 in a row, and we're cupping up our hero augment. We're hoping for anything from like a +1 duelist to, I'm not entirely sure at this point. Maybe Jeweled Lotus, maybe some items that would be really powerful for him. Okay, Portable Forge. He already has an extra sword on Kayle, so it's probably component grab bag from here. He could have also rerolled again for like a +1 duelist, but similar to what we said before, let's say he gets the +1 duelist, then what? You replace one of his duelists for what, another unit? It's not particularly good. In fact, I'm pretty sure that if he rolled for a specific emblem, the one that he would want might be like Ox Force emblem, so he can make his frontline even better. But you know, it is what it is. He ends up getting fortunate of an outcome, which is he gets a playable item in Runins and he gets to slam Deathblade. So he's pretty close to BIS on Kayle. I think that's, you know, maybe you could just think that instead of the Giant Slayer, you want Infinity Edge. Now that he has 3-star Kayle, which naturally has more base stats in AD, and he also has Deathblade, now would be a good time for Infinity Edge to take that Kayle over the top. But Giant Slayer's totally fine. He's going up against a bunch of 3-star units. 3-star units will generally always be in that Giant Slayer range. I'm having a hard time thinking that any of that won't be. And so it's like it's pretty good against the lobby. Hence why, again, his itemization ended up being in a pretty good spot. Whew, that was a lot. That was a mouthful. We're kind of going at full speed here. Spetham is now trying to charge. He's now also spreading his back line, making sure that there's no big AoE that catches everything. A lot of times people might put like everything in the front and then like everything in like a back corner. But I'm happy that he's spreading everything out. Someone hit Vayne 3. Ramblin, who is contesting, has hit Vayne 3. This lobby is just bananas in terms of strength. How on earth is this guy going to whip out a top 4? I think at this point, Spetham is just hoping that he doesn't match up into it. Dace hits +1 laser core. That's on the Morgana. We talk about how the condition for laser core to do well is hitting +1 laser. So you're telling me that the duelist player hit 3-star Vayne. The laser core player has hit the +1 laser on the tome. It's not even the augment. The underground player has cashed out with the duplicator. The other 1-cost rerollers are hitting and losing. Look at Jason and Sully. They both just took an L. This lobby is just bananas. Kurum has had, you know, Kai'Sa locked down since the beginning of the game, and his HP preservation is outrageous. Fun little tip, just during the carousel, looking to see what the Janna is, just in case it would swing things. I don't think it would. Oh, he looks like he's going for it anyways. Maybe the idea is that he's done rolling at 6 because he already has his KO3. He does have 7 Fioras though, so maybe he's open to rolling a little bit. Oh, he's already at level 7. I apologize. Okay, so he's at level 7, so this could be... I see. He's playing 2 Fiora 2s. If he's able to hit Fiora 3... Okay, 1 more Fiora. If we hit Fiora 3, we can... ideally go for a nice flex unit and get these double lockets. Okay, so we get this Annie 2, get the Ox Force and the Spellslinger in. We have 6 duelists, 2 Ox Force, 2 Spellslinger. Everything looks good synergy wise, and we hit it with the exact amount of gold that we needed, although we do have a TF pair in the shop. An important victory as well. Look at that double locket 3-star value. Your lockets get stronger with the more star level that your item holder has, and now he's streaking. All of a sudden, he's getting some good matchups against players that I think he's favored against. Turns out stacks on stacks Nasus is not very reliable. So looks like Jason Java is going to bot 4. And right now, based off the HP and the streak, he is a candidate to top 4 from here in a spot where it looks like the lobby is super duper high roll. Still has yet to go up against some of the really strong players. Ram, for example, hit that 3-star Vayne. DQA still has that underground mech. He positions his Kayle on C1. Really interesting. I missed why he might have done that. Maybe he's trying to avoid a rocket grab. So by putting Kayle here, if Blitzcrank is in the middle, like right around dead center, he's always going to hook kind of this bottom left before he hooks the Kayle here. So I think that's why he positioned it that way. Gets a win over Kurum. Kurum also does not look very strong. I think the one thing I noticed is that This duelist comp is really fast at shredding the front line, and because Kale has that splash damage, able to work onto that Kaisa really quickly. And as a result, he's been winning versus the meta comps. He beat Precedent and Kurum, both of the Kale players, both the Kaisa players, excuse me. At this point, we're pretty much going to try to look to go to 8. We streaked a good amount. Looks like we're going to be guaranteed at least top 5 based off HP. 16, 12, and 3 HP. I don't think DK is going to win out. Looks like he's going to eventually run into another really strong player. And so with that being said, can we do better than 5th place? He has a opportunity to make Sunfire Cape. Doesn't have anti-heal. That's the first thing that jumps to mind. So we could go for a Vayne item. You can go for like Infinity Edge. We mentioned how Infinity Edge can be pretty powerful with his duelist setup. He might end up, if he does end up going to 8, which I think he might do at this point, we could try to go for Vayne 3, and that'll be our condition to go top 2 or better. But he's really far away from Vayne 3. He does have a Reforger. He could theoretically use it to try and improve something, like go for like a Static Shiv on Twisted Fate. Okay, that's the that's the other half of it. Okay, so we're gonna go Shojin. Shojin on Vayne. Not the best scenario. It's not like he's playing Spreadshot or anything like that. Oh, I forgot. Vayne 3 is going to be really hard to hit as a win condition because we already have a Vayne 3 pulled out from Ramblin'. That just makes it very, very unlikely. If every Vayne is out of the pool, that means 2 players can hit. There's 18 Vaynes. Only 2 players can 3-star Vayne. And the fact that 9 are already pulled out are very unlikely. So this is just our board. And he's beating the Duelist player. Ramblin' has a really strong board, but the get paid is not combat power, and you see that second wind is really clutch. I think that double locket with the second wind and Fiora 3 is really crucial. It's giving him a lot of that HP install time, so that way he can get past the front line and shred everything in order to get to that back line. So Fathom's now first in HP. This Kale comp is doing a lot better than I thought it would, and just goes to show you that this off meta choice is actually doing some pretty cool stuff. Okay. This is exactly why he positioned the way he did. He knows that there is a Zephyr and a Blitzhook. Dace is a complete rat. And so he's trying to go for the Zephyr on the corner unit, because a lot of people will position like their carry like bait unit here and carry here. And so you Zephyr this and then you hook the carry unit. He decided by moving the Kale into C1 that it wouldn't get pulled. Very good call out. And as a result, wins a really crucial round. By winning this round, he's back up to 40. And now the HP is close enough where it almost feels like he will top 4 as long as he's competitive every single fight. Really good job scouting, because there's not really much to roll for. There's not really much to think about what his composition will be. He has to optimize the amount of efficiency he can get out of every single unit. Going up against scope weapons, stacks on stacks. It does not look like this Nasus is killing the Fiora very fast. Acel does come in. Oh my god. It's so close. One more cast. Oh my gosh. Winning that fight would have been... I think winning that fight would have locked in top 4. He did lose by 1 unit, so he didn't lose that much HP. Pretty good spot still to be able to go for that top 4. Looking at it, we can go for a last Vayne item. You want to stack your items. Don't itemize like a random champion with 1. You want to make sure you stack and multiply items as best as you can. So we talked about Infinity Edge, how it could be really good. That was something I wanted to make earlier. He made Shojin because he was trying to go for like a good TF item. We don't even have Twisted Fate 2. Wait, I just realized this is an Orin item. So we talk about how he's playing around Blitzcrank hooks. Now there's even more Blitzcrank hooks possibly in the field. So we rewinded real quick to look at the choices from the Orin Anvil. No hook for himself. I think interestingly enough, maybe he wanted to play the hook. Randuin's is really interesting because he has the second wind. He would lose some locket value though. I think personally I might have gone for something like Infinity Force. But it seems like he wants to pick Randuin's. Another interesting choice. It's just because of like, look, you're seeing what he's what you have to do with Randuin's. It's not exactly a clean setup, but he's gonna level and play another duelist, an Aatrox. I kind of like the idea of a second Neela, because Neela heals. We talked about how resistances and damage reduction works really well with HP, and so second wind plus Neela healing is great. We eat a Zephyr. That is not great. DQs on his last life. I don't think we beat this. This is the underground cash out player. He has Garen 2. our main DPS Kale did not get any kind of quick kills onto the front line. And now you're starting to see why we said winning that fight at 5-2 2 rounds ago was really crucial, because a lot of people are getting online. The underground player is online. We're starting to get to a spot where we're worried about losing three more times, and potentially like narrowly missing out on top 4. If we lost that 5-2 fight, we'd be at like 22, 24, somewhere around that range. We'd probably be scared of top 4ing. We're sacking Randuin's value, and I think this almost is an admission that Randuin's wasn't really that good of a pick, but it's not like he had much better options. Eternal Winter, like maybe. Kermax, by the way, has Kaisa 3. No healing on Kaisa, though, and Rammus 3 goes down pretty quickly. I'm actually so surprised how fast Kurum's frontline evaporated. Oh my goodness. So does Kale 3 just beat the Kaisa players? It feels like... Before I was saying like, oh, well, Pressevent and Kurum were contesting each other. They are playing Kaisa 2. Kurum, despite starting Kaisa pair and having that early Shiv, is 5th in HP. The lobby HP is really close. A really crucial victory for him to get that win. And goes to show you that, yes, you can go for Randuin's greed, but by putting things in the front and get that separation. Remember, if he clumped everything back here, that 3-star Rammus would have a field day and just take his Kale to Pound Town. That's Defiance, Gold Collector, Anima Visage. Wait, this is a 3rd Orange, so there's another hook. And not even just hook, but like Eternal Winter. If someone has Eternal Winter, that slows down his attack speed significantly. Now the need to scout has tripled. There's still that rocket grab. There's still the opportunity for people to get double hooks. And that's also not accounting for regular CC. So for example... Kale got hooked. Here's the rocket grab player. The rocket grab player Zephyr'd the corner, and there's 3 Ornn items. He didn't pick any of their other hooks, though. He picked Mana Zane, and he picked Infinity Force, as well as Deathify. So his opponent didn't go for the 3 hook. I think that would have been like way too many hooks, but also it feels like Dace is just capitalizing on the chaos of this lobby right now. That Kale was a really big deal. Now he's down to 10 HP, 17 to 4 HP. DQA, the underground player, has lost. Jason Java, the stacks on stacks player, is streaking. Anything could happen. One single fight is going to determine who top 4s from here. We end up replacing our units and putting the Fiddlesticks with Death Defiance in the front. Reposition Kale to be in the 3rd row. Ramblin doing the same thing. Ramblin has a hook, hooks the Fiddlesticks. Really nice to make sure that neither his Vayne or his Twisted Fate will get hooked. And Ramblin with 3-star Vayne is getting aggroed upon. Oh my god, that timing for Ramblin was everything. If his Fiddlesticks popped in half a second quicker, then the Vayne would have focused onto the Kale. So this positioning was everything. Because Kale was able to get onto the Vayne and same side it, that swung the fight. And Ramblin with Vayne 3 really early ends up getting 5th place. Jason Job, the stacks on stacks player, ends up losing. 2 Kaisa players in the top 4 and the Laser Core player. We did it. We made it to the top 4. This one's chaotic. It came down to a lot of positioning. All right, Spatham queues up. Sees Eternal Winter. That's one of the Ornn augments we're also afraid of. There's also a Star Guardian MF with Zanya's. His frontline's holding on really nicely, though. And MF is aiming away from the Kale. That's it. Precedent's out of damage. Precedent goes for a top 4. This is crazy. Precedent's board is insanely strong. He ties Kurum for 3rd. The 2 Kaisa players hold hands 3-4. And all of a sudden, it goes to a top 2. At this point, I'm not entirely sure what to take. Maybe like... I was going to think Warmogs. Warmogs is really good with his Randuins. Death Cap for Fiddlesticks, sure. Dace has the Laser Core. The hook. We started full circle. We talk about how he was playing around 1 hook and then Zephyr hook. Now he's playing around the Laser Core as the final boss with all the hooks. Is there a way for him to navigate and win this lobby? I thought it was going to be a narrow top 4, and if he lost, it would have still been a really good game. Double layer protection. He's protecting against both the hooks and the Zephyr. It looks like Vayne gets hooked. I don't know, though. Looks like the Urgot sweeps everything. If Mordekaiser are casted away from the composition, though. Oh my gosh. Wait, Kale? Hold on. Oh! That's so close. No, the laser drones. Oh my god. such a close game, but my God, the margins are so thin in the tournament environment. Everyone's board looks so good. You're telling me a Supers Lulu Hearts reroll went 8th? In some lobbies, this board can go top 1. The 4 Underground at 2-1 start into a mech cash out, ends up going 7th place. So I think Spetham could have actually played for first place in hindsight, because things like that Vayne getting pulled, for example, you saw how close that last fight was. It could have even been a first place. From out of nowhere, a situation where he had 0 KOs and had to use all of his rerolls and then wasn't really getting a lot of direction with his hero augments, able to almost pull out of first place in a high stakes environment tournament against the best player on the server. It's no wonder Spetham was able to combine some of his off meta knowledge with the standard meta build into a tournament victory. Congratulations, a well-deserved winner, and I'm looking forward to see Spetham at regionals. So what do you guys think of Spetham's play? Was it really impressive? Was there a decision that we talked about or didn't talk about that you want to discuss in the comments? Let me know in the comments below. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time for more TFT action. This has been In Too Deep with Frodan.